What's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. It is the end of the year, and last year I got to rank every single movie that I saw, but I am a very, very busy boy this year, and I'm setting up something really exciting for next year. So instead of ranking all 50 of the movies that I've watched this year, I am only going to rank the top 10 movies that I saw that were released this year, and overall, I feel like it was a relatively solid year for movies. There are a lot of really big surprises. There are multiple movies on this list that, like, going into the year, I wouldn't have even thought I would watch, and I absolutely love them, and I thought they were fantastic. So I do really enjoy that. And before I get too far into this ranking, I do want to go ahead and preface this video by saying the last 3 months I work retail and it's been the holiday season, so I haven't been able to see a lot of new releases. So if I get towards like the top of my list and there's a bunch of movies from December or November that came out that you're like, oh my god, he hasn't mentioned this movie. Why hasn't he mentioned this movie? Odds are I just haven't had the opportunity to see it yet. So that being said, quickly before I get into my ranking, I have something from last year's my top 10 most anticipated movies, and I feel like it'd be fun to kind of compare. So I'm going to just quickly run through the 10 movies I was most excited for coming into the year. In 10th place, we had Novocaine. This was a fun action movie with Jack Quaid, and I actually did end up really enjoying this movie. It actually would have been number 11 on my list for my top favorite movies this year, so I thought that was kind of funny. Number 9, we have Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. I have not had the opportunity to watch it yet, but I still have heard great things, so I'm sure it is a good movie. Number 8, we have a movie called Companion. Number 7, we have Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. All of the Mission Impossible movies are great. Number 6, we have a movie, Now You See Me 3. This is another film that I haven't had the opportunity to see yet. I've heard a lot of very mixed reactions to it, so I'm a little on the fence about it, but I will potentially watch it as soon as it's out on streaming. In 5th place, we had Fantastic Four in the First Steps. Number 4, we had Wicked for Good. The first one was really good, so my hopes for the second very, very high. The third movie on my list was the Thunderbolts, one of my favorite teams in all of the comics, so I was very excited to see that they were doing some form of adaptation of it, even though it really wasn't the Thunderbolts at all. Coming in 2nd place, we have Wake Up Dead Man, the Knives Out story. I will say that is one that probably would be on my top 10 had I had the opportunity to see it. I haven't had the chance to see it because I've been really busy this December. That being said, once again, I've heard great things, and Josh O'Connor is one of my favorite actors working today, so I am sad that I haven't seen that one yet. And then my number 1 most anticipated movie going into this year was the movie Superman. So, that being said, with all that stuff out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into my ranking for the top 10 movies that I watched this year. Okay, and coming in 10th place, we have Predator Badlands. I really, really love this movie. I will say I am mildly biased because Ella Fanning is one of my favorite actresses of all time. I think that she's absolutely phenomenal. And in this, her being her little goofy self is absolutely fantastic. And I love the fact that this feels like a buddy adventure, but it doesn't lack any of the epic action that makes the Predator movies as interesting to watch as they are. The Yachita is still incredibly badass in this. And I think that making him kind of like a short king was honestly really interesting because it's like we always see the Predators and we think that automatically they are the fiercest of the fiercest warriors. So seeing him be somebody who's the runt of his litter, who they're literally trying to kill off because they don't think he's strong enough to be a part of their clan, I thought that was really cool. I like the way that this movie is a metaphor for toxic masculinity in a very, very interesting way. The Yachita has like a set of codes, and it's all hypocritical bullshit, and it's all really stupid. And the fact that this movie is basically this guy learning that maybe the way of his people isn't necessarily the best, and that just because there's one way to be strong doesn't mean there's another way to be strong. I think that the comparison of the Yachita alpha predator, who has to just be like the strongest and the most fierce and who can kill literally everybody, versus the wolf alpha who protects everybody in his clan, I loved that. I thought that was a beautiful comparison, and I think that overall everything Dan Trachtenberg is doing with all these Predator movies is phenomenal. Making a movie where the Predator is the main protagonist almost shouldn't work, but it does, and I absolutely was in love with this movie. It was so good. Coming in 9th place, we have the movie The Thunderbolts. Marvel, for the first time in probably like 4 years, made a movie that feels 100% from start to finish a movie with one cohesive thought, with one clear director that had a clear path from start to beginning. I know that is such like a cop-out thing to say, but like, thank God, for the first time in a while, Marvel made something that feels like a movie and not a collection of scenes. I absolutely adored this cast. The second that they announced who these people were, and a lot of people were like, oh my god, really disappointed, I was like, David Harbour's phenomenal. John Walker's actor, Wyatt Russell, absolutely phenomenal. Yelena Beloved's actor, Florence Pugh, incredible. Hannah John Carmen, I definitely just butchered her name, is also fantastic. So I'm like looking at this cast of characters and I'm like, this can be something really special. This can be something insanely entertaining. I'm really excited to see what they do with this group of people. And the way that they're able to put them all together in a way that's really cool works. I like the fact that they start off doing the trope that Marvel does, where the heroes are fighting against each other until they realize, hey, we're kind of on the same side here. Maybe we should work together. I think that's incredible. Everything with Bob is fantastic. Every time they say his name, I laugh out loud. It is genuinely such a stupid bit, but I absolutely loved it. And the way that this movie creates kind of a found family is phenomenal. I think that the way that this movie kind of encapsulates how like lonely everybody has felt in the last couple of years is incredible. And I think they do such a good job of showcasing that like when you're feeling depressed and when you're feeling sad and when you're feeling lonely, those are the times that instead of isolating yourself, you should be trying to reach out and you should be connecting with other people, because while Bob is at his lowest, he's finally given a support system and it works for him and it makes it where he can pull himself out of the darkness, and I love it. I know a lot of people kind of like make fun of superhero movies sometimes where they're like, and they won with the power of friendship, but the way that they do it in this movie works insanely well. The visuals are fantastic. The cinematography is great. There are a couple of action sequences that I still think are absolutely incredible. Like that first sequence with them fighting, so good. It's so good. And I like the fact that they have some interesting challenges that really test their team building and the way that they work together. It's very fun. I'm very looking forward to see this team work together again in the future. Alright, and coming in 8th place, a film by one of my all-time favorite directors, Edgar Wright, The Running Man, starring Glenn Powell, who absolutely is crushing it as an action star. I know some people are very mixed on him. I think he's phenomenal, and I think that in this movie, he's just oozing with charisma. And something that I really like about this movie is just how political this movie is and how over the top it is. I think that some people really need to be smacked in the face with the political messaging in films like this, and I think that the overall story of like, check who you're getting your news from. Propaganda is really bad. People can obviously twist other people's words, and I think that it's almost ahead of its time in the way that it's dealing with the fact that like people are, you know, making these videos and they're saying like, oh my god, don't trust them, they're twisting our words, and then like the government can just like make the video say something completely different. That is so real to some of the AI deepfakes and stuff that's going to be happening. So this movie just felt like incredibly politically relevant, while also being just an incredibly cool, action-packed, futuristic thrill ride, which I absolutely loved. I think that this movie has some incredible comedic bits. I think that everything with the little Home Alone house and Michael Cera is phenomenal. Michael Cera is in this movie for maybe about 10 minutes, and he's just freaking phenomenal. His work with Edgar Wright will always be incredible to me, and I think that one of my favorite things about this movie, because I had mentioned Edgar Wright is one of my favorite directors, is just how much this movie oozes with style. I know a lot of people were complaining about this movie being like kind of bland, and I don't know what fucking movie they watched, because this movie is so good. It absolutely rocked. I love a lot of the just like the big city and how everybody who's super rich is so over the top and they have all these different things that they really couldn't even possibly need, and I think that that's cool. I love how colorful it is. Coleman Domingo's character, who is once again barely in the movie, but is just absolutely phenomenal as a character. I think he's very interesting and compelling, and the way that they depict the upper class versus the lower class in here is so well done, and I like it. I really enjoyed this movie. I was expecting to not like it, because, like I said, a lot of the reviews for it were really low. I dug it. I thought it was pretty sick. Coming in 7th place, we have Mission Impossible. Hold up. I got something on my tongue. Alrighty, coming in 7th place, we have Tom Cruise, my GOAT, Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. This film was absolutely incredible. I feel like they really did an interesting thing by kind of like flipping some of the tropes on its head. They had a big cold open that was about like 30 minutes long, 40 minutes long, where they went ahead and they did a lot of the things you expect from these Mission Impossible movies. They did the mask pull, they did this, they did that, they did a bunch of really cool action sequences and stuff to start off this film, and then they go into the big battle, and a lot of the things that we would expect from like what these movies usually are has already been done. So it kind of feels like a new playing field completely, and it's absolutely incredible because it catches you off guard a little bit, but also you're right there in the action with Ethan Hunt. He's doing a lot of incredible things. There are so many phenomenal stunts, a lot of underwater things that just look incredible. And the last like minute and 35 minutes of this film, they do not take their foot off the brakes a single time. And I thought it worked really well for me. I thought it was a phenomenal conclusion. And I think that there's a lot of really impactful sequences like towards the end with Simon Pegg's character where they're trying to figure out what they're going to do and what their final plan is, and they just keep saying, we'll figure it out, we'll figure it out, we'll figure it out. And the scene where it reveals that like he got shot pretty damn bad and he didn't want Ethan Hunt to know before Ethan Hunt went and did something super duper dangerous was incredibly emotional. I think that this movie had a lot of emotional stakes to it and nailed all of them. Coming in 6th place, we have the movie Companion. I really dug this movie. I have not seen anybody talking about this film, especially not since January. I think I might have seen a couple of people make reviews for the movie when the movie first came out, but all throughout the year when people are talking about like some of the underrated movies of this year, I'm like waiting for somebody to say Companion. I'm waiting for them to bring it up, and they never do. This movie is a very interesting, it's kind of a horror movie, but like also not really. This movie is like incredibly one of a kind. Like I've seen a lot of people compare it to Barbie. I've seen a lot of people compare it to Terminator 2, but this film is so unique. I think that the overall premise of making a film talking about incel culture and how absolutely shitty men are and the way that they objectify women by having a woman that is an object overcome that, become a sentient, and just absolutely murder the guy who's been treating her like shit the entire time is just phenomenal. It's so good. Sophie Thatcher is so captivating in this role. I think that she's absolutely phenomenal. I like the way that they established the rules in this film with how her AI programming works and how there are certain things she can and can't do, and the way that they're kind of working around it throughout this film. It leads to a lot of very hilarious sequences. Like one rule that she has is that her like interface makes it where she cannot tell a lie at all. She has to be honest. Every single time somebody asks her a question, she can't lie. And so at one point, after murdering a couple of people and she runs off into the woods, she ends up coming across a police officer and she's covered in blood and she's like, oh my god, how am I going to get out of this? And the way she gets out of it is changing her voice box to another language. So the police officer is like, oh my god, what happened? Is that your blood on you? And she's just smiling and looking back at him and she was like, no, this is the blood of somebody that I murdered, but obviously in another language. It's absolutely hilarious. And there's a lot of really great moments like that. And I think that this movie just overall is an incredible like just metaphor for how people treat other people like shit and like objects. And I really like the fact that they did it by making a main character that is an object and showing that like the way you treat people will come back to bite you in the ass. And I love it. I thought it was phenomenal. Also, Jack Quaid is really good at playing a greedy dirtbag. He's like actually a little scarily too good at it. What the hey? Coming in 5th place, starting off our top 5 with another surprise for me, The Long Walk. Had you told me at the beginning of the year, hey, what are your favorite movies that came out this entire year? It's going to be about a 2-hour long movie where there's a group of guys and they're just walking the entire movie. I would have looked at you and been like, what are you talking about? What are you doing? That's silly. That's so ridiculous. But this film, for one, the cast, from everybody from Ben Wang and some of the other characters who had smaller roles to Ben Johnson and Cooper Hoffman, I was about to accidentally say his dad's name, it's phenomenal. It's so good. I think that for one, the emotional stakes are absolutely phenomenal. There are so many philosophical things that get discussed throughout this movie. There's a lot of incredible sequences that are just incredibly emotional, obviously, but they also have a lot of like fun, lighthearted moments in the earlier stages of this film that does such a good job of endearing you to these characters that even though you know certain ones of them are definitely going to die, you still are like really hooked on to them. And it was such a good thing because it's like when you watch a movie and you go into it, like a movie like The Hunger Games or something, where it's like 23 people are gonna die, it's really hard to get emotionally invested in it. And I think that the dialogue and the way that these characters were portrayed was just so well done that it's like hard not to get endeared by them. And I love it. I think that that's just absolutely phenomenal. And I think that it really is due to the chemistry of this cast. They're all incredibly captivating. They work really well together. And they all just like feel like the kind of person you would want to be friends with. And especially like one of the lines that I think really sticks out from this movie is, I believe David Johnson's character says this, but he talks about how everybody is going to die one day, and if you're lucky enough that you get the opportunity to select how you choose your final moments, it's a very beautiful thing. And he's talking about it because everybody here is probably going to die, and that at least for them, they get the joy of knowing, hey, this is it for us. And if I'm going to spend the last couple of my days alive with this random group of guys, let's be bros. And I love it. It's so good, so emotional. The final scene, I think, is absolutely captivating. I know a lot of people have been like, I don't like how ambiguous it was. I do. I think it was fantastic. I think that was a great way to end the movie. And I will say, because I have not read the book, that was a massive plot twist to me. I was like, whoa. I liked it. I was really a big fan of it. Coming in fourth place, by far the biggest surprise this year, though, the movie Weapons. I personally, not a super big horror guy, right? Last year for Halloween, I watched the Scream movies for the first time ever, and I was like, oh, I might be able to do this. So this year, when a couple of like interesting looking horror movies have came out, I was like, you know what, yeah, I'll try this one, I'll try that one. And then I saw the first trailer for Weapons, and I was like, no, please no. And then I realized that it was the director of the movie Barbarian, which I had not seen. And so I was like, you know what? I'll watch Barbarian. And then Barbarian ended up being one of the most fascinating movies I have ever seen in my life. So I was like, you know what? Weapons gets my eyeballs. I'm going to watch it. It's going to be incredible. First thing I want to say, Julia Gardner, so captivating. She is so wonderfully delightful in this movie, and I absolutely love her. I think that the way that her character reacts to a lot of the things that are going on is 100% accurate, and I think that her falling into alcoholism, so real. She's insanely real for that. And because of that, and her being an alcoholic, I like the way that this movie kind of has plot holes. And a lot of times, like, people were like complaining about it. They're like, oh, but this character does this one thing, and oh, in this other character's version of the story, this other thing happens. And it's like, yeah, the whole movie is a bunch of unreliable narrators because people, for one, only know their side of the story. And for two, it's like, just like in real life, if somebody's like, hey, what's this thing that happened like 5 days ago? You will not be able to fully give everybody the exact story of what's going on. And I think that that makes it feel even more real. I think that it was phenomenally well established. And I think that the way that this movie is written and the way that all of the reveals come into, like, the small little puzzle pieces come together throughout this movie, it's just absolutely phenomenal. I think that the huge mystery is great. And I think the way that this movie is able to be super comedic and super entertaining all throughout, while also having insanely intense moments and having sequences like Josh Brolin's dream, which is just brutally terrifying. That was rough. Hey, I didn't like that. And then also giving us a new horror icon in Aunt Gladys. This movie is great. This movie was iconic, and I absolutely loved everything they did with it. And the last 10 minutes might be the most entertaining 10 minutes of my life ever. That was so funny, and watching that in a crowded theater was unreal. I loved it. Now, coming in third place, in my opinion, the best superhero movie that came out this year, we have James Gunn's Superman. This film was just absolutely beautiful. I think, for one, the color grading is incredible. I think the fact that this movie has no problems just being super stylistic is phenomenal. This is a comic book movie. We want it to feel like a comic book world, and James Gunn absolutely knocked it out of the park with that. Like I already mentioned, the color scaling, absolutely great. The costuming, I think that Superman looks absolutely phenomenal. The Ultraman suit looks great. Mr. Terrific is a total badass. And I just like this movie because finally, James Gunn gets an opportunity to play with a character that is an A-list superhero, and he absolutely perfectly encapsulates what makes Superman Superman. He is a man. That's it. That's one of the most beautifully things. That's one of the most beautiful and interesting things about the character is that at the end of the day, he is raised by two beautiful, loving, and caring people, and he was taught to be the best version of himself he could possibly be. They wanted him to be a good man. They wanted him to help people out whenever he can, and he does that. I love the fact that we have sequences of him quickly saving a squirrel, saving as many people as possible, trying to not murder the thing that they're trying to, the threat that they're trying to defeat downtown. The way that he connects with the community, he's just all around a great dude. And David Cornsweet is phenomenal in this role. I think that after another movie, you can go ahead and say he's the greatest Superman actor of all time. He's so good. Rachel Brosnahan is absolutely incredible in this. Nicholas Hoult is great in this. And I just think overall this movie feels like it 100% could and should be a mess, but I feel like the way that it works, it just flows so much like a comic book that if you're somebody like me who has read comic books all throughout growing up, it just feels natural, and everything about it just flows so smoothly, and I absolutely love it. The action set pieces are absolutely phenomenal. The fact that we see Superman lose is so good, and the fact that this movie is not afraid to make Lex Luthor an insane supervillain, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, he's super campy, he's over the top. He just shot a man. And he has a prison in an alternate dimension where he could just put some of his exes because he doesn't like her that much. So he's just going to put her in an interdimensional prison. Hey, that's insane. Hey, that's really cool. Okay, sorry for the awkward pause. My house is very close to train tracks, and I did not realize how loud they would be when I'm recording videos. So in the past, I've just kind of kept talking, and then I realized afterwards that I can't edit that shit out. So that being said, I just think that this movie overall has an incredible vibe, an incredible story. The overall messaging of you're not who people tell you are who you want to be. You're the man that you choose to be. The decisions you make versus the decisions that other people make for you, it doesn't matter. You are, at the end of the day, the character that you try to be, and I really like that. I thought that was beautiful, and all of the relationships and connections in this movie are just absolutely fantastic. I really dug this movie. Coming in second place, and honestly the only movie that made me cry this year, we have the movie The Life of Chuck. I will tell you, going into this movie, did I have any idea what it was? I had absolutely no idea. I knew two things about this movie going into it. One, Tom Hiddleston was in it. Two, Matthew Lillard was in it. I love both of those actors. Yeah, I'll go watch this. This was a very interesting movie. I like the way that this movie is unpacked like a mystery, and the way that the first movie feels kind of like a psychological horror, and you're like, oh my god, what the hell is going on? And then slowly throughout this movie, you understand more and more. And by the end of the movie, you have a full picture of why the first act goes the way that the first act goes. And it's just absolutely breathtaking to me. I think that the way that this movie was written was just absolutely phenomenal. And I really liked the way that it has so many different existential questions answered in it. I think that one, what would you do if the world was ending? I think that that is an absolutely beautiful thing. The fact that we're kind of in a mindscape, and we have Chidio Ejiofor and Karen Gillan's characters, who are both exes, noticing, oh, the world around us is collapsing, we should be together. Beautiful, breathtaking. I thought that that was phenomenal. And then we get into the act 2, which is the last time Tom Hiddleston's character Chuck ever danced. And they talk about how it's just a seemingly random day to everybody else. They're just going to continue going on with their life, and everything is going to be fine and dandy. But for him, this is the last time he ever danced, and he didn't even know why he really felt like dancing. Just something about the beat made him stop everything he was doing, drop his briefcase, and dance around with other people. And it's just such a beautiful celebration of humanity. And then Nick Offerman, with his narration explaining, this is the last time he ever danced. This is one of the last times he was ever able to see clearly, and all these different things about how life can be taken away in an instant. Heartbreaking. It is beautiful. It made me contemplate things about my life that I've never even really thought about. And it just shows you not to take things for granted. And like I said, I went into this movie thinking maybe it's a comedy. Hey, it was emotionally distraught. I distraught. That's it. Also, want to give a shout out to another actor I had not mentioned yet. Mark Hamill is in this movie for maybe about like 7 or 8 minutes. Phenomenal. He is so captivating. And there's one sequence where he kind of has like almost like a jump scare moment. I was quaking in my boots. Yeah, I actually had to get up, go use the bathroom, and come right back. That was terrifying. I loved it. It was really good. Alrighty, and coming in first place for me, I don't care if this is the basic answer. I think it's the basic answer because it's the right answer. We got the movie Sinners. Ryan Coogler just absolutely has the sauce. There's probably like 3 or 4 different sequences in this movie that just are like the most visually stunning thing I've ever witnessed in my entire life. And I'm not just talking about Haley Steinfeld. You see what I did there? No, but also, one thing I do want to talk about before I actually get too far into this movie, Miles Canton, right? The guy who plays Preacher Boy, first film ever. Oh, no, he hasn't even been in like little short films, little budget thing. He hasn't even been in TV shows. First acting performance ever. Also, he didn't know how to play the guitar before this movie. He learned how to play the guitar before this movie. Hey, that man might be one of the most talented 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds I've ever seen in my life. Dude is insane. He is so good. That was so good. The I Lied to You sequence in this movie might be one of the most incredible cinematic things I've ever witnessed. And the whole overall arching story of you can sometimes play music so well that you breach like reality, and there's like different souls, and you're bringing back the ancestors and this and that, and you're able to connect different time periods. And then you have a sequence where the guy's playing music and he does it so well that like we see the ancestors and they join in and they're dancing and they're doing their, tribal music and they're dancing and their bongos and everything. And then it cuts forward to modern hip hop. And they're adding in those beats. They have those different dancers. They have the different kind of vibes with that. And all of this going on one small little one shot that's just following the people around the room. I need Ryan Coogler to make 70,000 of those scenes. I need him to make every single scene that ever exists ever should be that, just should be that scene. Let me tell you, when I saw that scene in the theater for the first time, I felt like I was levitating out of my chair. That was beautiful. It was absolutely stunning. And I'm talking about all these different things. I didn't even get to Michael B. Jordan, Stack and Smoke. Incredible characters. The way that they're differentiated, absolutely phenomenal. And the way that they have their different hardships and stuff, and the fact that they've had so many different trauma from war, and the fact that they've pinned the Italians versus the Irish gangs against each other up in the north, so they had to go back down to the south, and they knew that their business model wasn't going to be super successful, but what they wanted to do was have just one night where they could be themselves and everybody can have a good time and everybody can just enjoy themselves at the juke joint, because he knows how hard it is for black people down in the south. Phenomenal film. Just absolutely phenomenal. And I know some people who like watch this movie and are just like, there's not enough scary things. Oh, the vampires are barely in the movie. That's kind of not the point, to be totally honest with you. And if that's what your main takeaway from this movie was like, I feel like this movie needed more vampires. Leave. That movie is so good. It did not need more vampires. It was absolutely captivating. And also, it's one of the first times in a while that I've seen a horror movie where we actually have enough time to get like involved with the characters, know what their stories are, know their hardships, know everything that they've been through, know the relationships that they share with one another before the bad stuff starts going down and people start dying and this and that happens. It was great. Also, not to mention, one of the funniest movies that has came out this year. Probably one of the most well-rounded movies that have came out this year. It's so good. If I Lied to You doesn't win the Oscar for Best Original Song, I'm going to the Academy and I'm drop-kicking every single one of them. So, that being said, that was it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe. I have some very exciting stuff planned for the New Year's, and I think you're going to want to stick around, potentially. If you like me. If you don't like me, that's totally chill. You can just like comment, hey man, you're kind of lame and I don't like your videos. And I'd be chill with that because I like engagement. I'm going to sign out now. Peace out. Pow, pow.